today's video, join me as I show 25 super simple holiday tree designs that absolutely any creative ability can do. Hello all you lovely wonderful people, I am Lynette, welcome to my channel. For this video I'm using minimal materials, which are brown craft paper and a white Posca paint pen, but you could also use a white gel pen too. If you don't have access to either of these things, then white paper and a normal pen will do just fine. Starting off with our very first tree. This one's quite reminiscent of how I used to draw trees when I was a little girl. So I'm starting with two slightly curved sweeping lines that join and peak in the middle to form the top of the tree. Then repeating those same curved branches a couple more times, but making them slightly bigger as I work towards the base of the tree. Then I add a very simple stump, and then to finish this design I'm simply going to fill it in with lots of vertical lines to begin with. And then once I'd finished doing that, I added some horizontal lines to create some cross-hatching. Next up, we're going to start with a simple line for the trunk, and once again with those curved sweepy lines. This time we're going for an irregular tree shape, so I am not going from smaller at the top and then bigger at the bottom. And then to decorate each of the branches of this tree, I am adding like this scalloped, I think that's the right terminology, or looping design on each of the branches. So starting again with another simple just line, but this time we're going to have a pot at the bottom of the trunk. I decorated my pot with spots and stripes, but you can do whatever you want to. And then for the branches, we're doing these arrow shapes, getting slightly bigger as you work down the tree. Next up, we're doing another line for the trunk, but this time we're adding a very simple star on the top with dots on the end of the points of the star. For the branches, they are going to be like these little aubergine shapes. So I'm just making like these kind of loop shapes that taper in towards the trunk of the tree. Fifth design, I'm going to start off with a very simple triangle shape. Adding a circle on the top. And filling it in with some sporadic lines, then making sure that some stick out at the edge of the triangle to make it look like it's prickly. Next up, we're going to draw a very bare bones Christmas tree. Think of a Christmas tree come January without any pine needles left on it. But we're going to breathe some life into this tree and give it some pine needles back by adding some little squiggly lines along each of the branches. I also added some offshoots to those branches to make the tree look a lot fuller. Next up, we start with the peak of the tree again, but this time for the branches we're adding lots of zigzaggy little lines. This one actually turned out a bit more wonkier than I wanted it to, but that's fine because nature isn't perfect. But yeah, I'm just going to keep adding those little zigzaggy lines until I'm happy with the shape of my tree. Next up, we're going to create a very irregular shaped tree, so we're starting with a small triangle first, and then we're just going to keep adding different sized triangles, hiding the peak of the triangle underneath the one above. On the bottom of each triangle, we're going to add a scalloped trim. And then fill it in with lots of little lines. For our next design, we're going to start with quite a big triangle, then create its trunk by drawing a line down the middle. But instead of giving it a flat bottom, we're going to slightly curve it up towards the trunk of the tree, and then fill it in with more of these wavy lines again. And that's pretty much it for the design of that tree. On to the next, we're going to do a tree that's very similar to this one here. The tree seem a little bit more sparse. There's not going to be any offshooting branches, and we're just going to add some scribbly lines over the branch shapes that we've created. Taking a break from triangle shapes, we're going to make something a bit more curvy and loopy. This tree simply has a rounded top, and then to create the branches, we're doing these sort of little loopy things at the bottom of each of the layers. We're going to do another curved top tree, but this time instead of loops we're just going to add lines, and we're going to create a tree shape by leaving a little bit of negative space and then adding a layer of lines until we're happy with the shape of our tree. This looks a bit like a Cousin It Christmas tree. So back to our triangular shaped trees. This time we're going to do quite a small triangle with a very tiny trunk at the bottom. And then all we're doing is filling in with little circles, and it almost looks like chain mail. And for our next tree, this is probably one of my favourites. So starting like we have before with the trunk of the tree, this time we're just going to add lots of little wavy shoots of lines from that trunk, and it's really effective to make it a fairly realistic looking tree. Guess what shape we're drawing? Another triangle. So we've already done this shape before, but this time I'm decorating it with lots of little dots. Circles. Circles, not dots. So now we're going to start off with a 5-pointed star, and then all we're going to do for this tree is have a continuous squiggle starting very small at the top, and then get the squiggles getting bigger and bigger as we work towards the bottom to create our tree shape. And for the trunk, another little squiggle, and that's it. Next up, we're doing another line and a little pot at the bottom of the line, giving our little tree a tiny star at the top, and this time the branches are just going to have simple swirls getting bigger as we get to the bottom. Our next tree, we are going to draw 3 sort of teardrop shapes, and then for each of the levels of the tree, we're just going to add more of those teardrop shapes, or aubergine kind of weird, I don't know how to describe them, but yeah, we're just going to layer up the tree with these squishy shapes and then fill it in with some dots. Sometimes I find it incredibly hard to find the words to explain what it is that I'm doing. We're going to go for a little bit more of a realistic tree this time, so we're starting with the trunk again and then adding different shaped branches. And then we're going to fill it in and just add like squiggly lines coming off of each of these branches, sort of making the lines a little bit thicker as the scribble, should I say, as we get towards the centre of the tree. Next up, this definitely is the tree shape that I did draw when I was in primary school. But yeah, it looks kind of like a cookie cutter shape type tree that you'd think when you see Christmas cookie cutters. And then I'm adding a trunk to the bottom of the shape and then filling it in with horizontal lines. And that's pretty much it for this tree. I do colour in the trunk of the tree just to give it a little bit of something different. Now we've done this tree already before, but this time instead of filling it in all the way to the bottom, I do end up leaving this one with a trunk. So now we're doing another triangle. And this time we're adding a star on top and giving it some, I guess, tinsel effect by adding these wavy lines and some dots for lights. And then another version of that, instead of doing the straight wavy lines, we're going to add a scalloped edge to them. So we're almost there, but this one is definitely one of my favourites. So we're going to draw the trunk of the tree and trunk, not drunk, and adding these sort of leafy shapes coming off of the tree, getting bigger as we work our way to the bottom. And then we're going to add a little pot. And then fill in the little branches. And that's that. Super simple, but really cute and effective. And now for our final tree. This one is definitely going to look more like a cookie. So it's a little fat rounded tree. And once we've got the basic shape, making sure that there are no sort of like pointy edges, I'm going to fill it in with circles, and then we're going to simply just colour it in, leaving negative space where we've drawn the circles. That's number 25 of our holiday tree designs. As you can see, they were super simple to create and super quick too, but they do look really good on Christmas cards, or you could design your own wrapping paper using some of these little designs. I created a couple of cards so you could see what they might look like, and I used a white gel pen for the text because I found the paint pen was a little bit too thick. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, then please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, then please consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much, and take care.